If you find yourself in the middle of a grocery store, head over to aisle Adam, and you'll find me.
And if you're in a corner store, just ask for Aaron, and I'll pop through the ceiling, and I will say, hello. Would you like to buy some Takis?
And this is Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron, the podcast where we go over every single episode of Kenan and Kel, which we did, and now we're doing top 10 lists and other fun spin-offs.
Because apparently we have nothing better to do with our time.
I disagree. This is a great way to spend our time, talking about Chris Potter, the grocer of our dreams.
Did you know that Chris Potter, spelled backwards, is Cirque Retop? Yes!
Aaron, you're hurting my head.
So, Adam, Chris Potter is probably my favorite character in the show.
Really? You like it more than Kenan and Kel?
Besides Kenan and Kel, I think Chris Potter is my favorite supporting character in the Kenan and Kel universe. It's been this way for a long time, but I just love I love Dan Frischman. I love his additions to the show. I think if the manager at Rigby's, if Kenan's boss was any more serious or any less oblivious, I think it just wouldn't work as well. So he's the perfect manager for Rigby's. I feel like I should wear my Rigby's apron for this episode.
I was putting on a shirt and I'm like, how should I wear? Oh, my apron. I don't have one though.
Oh, you don't have one. You got to get the gray one.
Yeah, I do.
The Chris apron. I have the Kenan one.
Yeah, he wears a gray apron. He dresses nice.
He does dress nice. He dresses like an educator.
To your point, he has a very fine line to walk between getting annoyed by Kenan, but also being Kenan's friend. I think in a way that like his parents aren't.
Right. I feel like you can hear Chris's pants when he walks. You know, he wears like the cardboard khakis. You know what I mean?
You know, his mom ironed his pants.
Yeah, I do know that. that's actually a core. Yeah. So we've learned a lot about Chris over the years. Really over the years, because we've been doing this podcast for quite some time. And we have a lot of theories about how Chris exists in the world, how he came into being, how he was created, and how he became a grocer, and all these things, subject to many of our conversations. But also, I just think Chris, every single scene that he's in, he adds a little bit. And that's why he's great.
Yeah, I think going through this list, which to obtain, I went through my memory and notes and pulled out like as many quotes and kind of scene summaries as I could from all of the episodes that he's on, which is something to the tune of 60 some episodes. There's very few that he missed, and it's very clever what the writers had to do to incorporate him sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm thinking of Freezer Burned, where it's like, this is only at the Rockmore's house, then this restaurant, so he's over for dinner. Or like other occasions where he's like, they see him in a location that he's not normally in.
Those are my favorite ones. Yeah, the great thing about Chris is that he fits whatever is needed in the moment, right?
I would call him the most flexible cast member.
Right. Unlike Roger and Cheryl, who kind of have to always be the parents, or Kyra, who's the younger sister. Chris can be the mentor of Kenan. He can be, the law enforcement for Kel or Kenan.
He can be slightly annoyed.
Right, or he could really need Kenan and Kel's help.
Yes.
Like when his brother comes to town.
So we've outlined our top 10 Chris moments, and I would like to let's start down this path.
Adam, you got to know something. Once we go down this path, there's no going back.
I'm sorry, Aaron. First, before
okay, so we're not going down this path yet.
No, we're not going down this path. I've changed my mind. I'm going to stand at the entrance for a little bit at the fork. But there's a lot of Kenan and Kel news that we have to get to.
Oh.
July 15th, 2022 celebrates the 26th year anniversary of Kenan and Kel.
Wow.
That's when the pilot first aired.
Do you feel old yet? That was before I was born.
And on a similar occasion, a year later, on July 25th, is the 25th year anniversary of Good Burger.
Wow. Again, before I was born.
And there's a celebratory steel case Blu-ray out there right now. It's currently going for $12.99 on Amazon. That's $5 off its regular price. So if anyone wants to celebrate Good Burger, a movie that's currently free on YouTube, you can purchase the steelbook.
We don't make any royalties from this, just so you know.
No, there's no special features that I know of besides perhaps one of the Good Burger sketches from the original. That I think the first Good Burger sketch is on there.
That's right, Adam. We haven't dropped our merch line in a while.
Oh, we have not.
We're terrible at promoting our merch.
We have a TeePublic store called Rockmore and Kimball, where if you've ever seen a joke T-shirt on Kenan and Kel, it's in our store, including Dr. Frank's House of Waffles and Pizza Farm.
I'm a Genius.
I'm a Genius is very popular.
Very popular. We've sold
shirts before. It's mostly a celebration of this series. I have 2 other pieces of news for you, Aaron.
Yes, I'm ready.
First, Heath Seifert. You might recognize him as one of the writers of Kenan and Kel.
I do recognize his name.
He had a cameo on an episode of Kenan and Kel that we have not yet pointed out. I recognize this through a tweet of his.
Please tell me what it is, because I have a hunch.
The episode is Diamonds Are for Roger.
Oh.
Any guesses?
Is he the jeweler? No way.
Nope. Not that old.
Is he the bandit?
Nope, not the bandits.
There's only so many characters.
Large.
I don't know.
In the police station, there's a man dressed up like a woman on the payphone. That's actually Heath Seifert.
Oh my god. I will have to pull this up as we speak.
As he tweeted, "Who's that pretty girl on the payphone? Hashtag Kenan and Kel, hashtag cameo."
Oh,
A bit that has not aged well, but I appreciate that it's the writer himself there.
Yeah, that is
like kind of delivering his own joke.
That's true. Okay, great job,
Yeah.
Heath Seifert. We're hoping to get you talking about Kenan and Kel soon.
And finally, I have an announcement that Wikipedia was wrong about Kenan and Kel.
Tell me more.
Do you recognize the name Savage Steve Holland?
I knew that was wrong the whole time. I'm like, there's no way that's 2 people.
Yes, it is 2 people. Savage Steve
stop
Holland.
it.
He's a writer in Hollywood and does TV shows, but he did not do any episodes of Kenan and Kel. IMDb and a special source that we'll talk about later has confirmed that it's a regular Steve Holland that did it. Steve Holland, who went on to like work on The Big Bang Theory and like other programming like that.
Not Savage.
No, not Savage at all. I have corrected Wikipedia in my first of many Kenan and Kel corrections.
Wow.
I'm hoping that this sticks because it is absolutely correct.
Could you imagine if it didn't stick and you're like, excuse me?
I don't know how to fight it. It's not Savage. I don't know what to tell them.
Well, I mean, we are the Kenan and Kel experts at this point. Self-acclaimed.
Yeah. I think if that sticks, that's going to be another like feather in our cap.
I think so, yeah. Wikipedia edit. We should probably create a Wikipedia entry for every episode, right?
I think that's allowed. People do that for like Twilight Zone and
Do they?
The Simpsons.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, we'll spend. That's a good way to spend our time too, right?
Well, there are currently 2 Kenan and Kel wikis, and they're both like incomplete.
Right. Maybe we should just finish those.
Let's get on with the episode.
Would you like to go first, Adam, in our top 10 Chris Potter moments?
Yeah, sure. My number 10 Chris Potter moments is from Picture Imperfect.
Picture Imperfect. I love this episode.
Yeah, this is the one where Kenan and Kel stage a photo shoot for Bill Bellamy to try and replace all of the photos of the classmates that Kel destroyed. Bill Bellamy doesn't know about this. He's just going to get his groceries because he's filming a movie in town. And Chris very much gets on his case about, like, Kenan says, those Hollywood types. And Chris very firmly says, well, this isn't Hollywood. Which kicks off him like really yelling at Bill Bellamy and so like, knock it off, these people are here for you. And like, or for something that's purely charitable, he thinks it's something they signed up for and is being basically giving Rigby's like a bad reputation.
Right, yeah, he becomes like the Bill Bellamy stickler, right? He's like trying to keep him in line.
And it's very good. It all accumulates in a sequence of Bill Bellamy telling him to shut up. So,
it does. It does.
Yeah. I feel it's a different Chris energy than we typically get, which I really liked and wanted to highlight.
Yeah, speaking of his flexibility, right? He's like snapping at this celebrity. He's like, who do you think you are? Talking to my employee like that.
And I think that's a really good, I find that celebrity cameos, and like there's a lot of like kind of crossover movies and stuff like that happen nowadays. The new Jurassic World movie was like that. They had like the old Jurassic Park cast. And I hate it when that happens and then everyone is just like in love with like they're huge fanboys of each other, and there's no real friction.
Right.
So I love the idea of like there's a celebrity cameo and someone in the
Right.
cast like hates them.
Yeah.
Someone in the main like group of people is not a fan.
They did that with Ron Harper too, right? They were terrified of him.
They utilize them in a unique way, and that's a good guest spot.
Right. Exactly. I agree with that. I think we'll return to this episode in just a moment.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Chris's flexibility, my number 10 comes from an episode, Parental Guidance. And Chris has a lot of great lines in this episode, but I think what kind of speaks for Chris's like again flexibility is how much he cares about how Kenan is going crazy. Right, he sees all these weird things that Kenan's doing and how he's acting so strange, and
this is the one where he's basically hired actors to play his parents to impress his principal.
Right, but Kenan is doing all of this kind of very slyly. He doesn't want anybody to find out that he kind of got in trouble, because who knows who's gonna know, and then he has to deal with these two parents, these actors, and they are just just a handful, the worst. And so Chris eventually shows up to the Rockmore residence with the two fake parents, Principal Dimley, Kenan and Kel, and Kenan opens the door. Chris is about to say something, and then he just slams the door in his face. Chris knocks again. He says, "I came here as your boss and your friend. I'm worried about you. I think you should speak to your parents." "Oh, you have guests. I think I should speak to your parents." And then Kenan goes, "Here are my parents." And Chris goes, "None of these people are your parents, son." And that's just...
he like holds him, and he's so concerned with Kenan's sanity, because this episode also starts off with him stapling bananas, or as Chris calls them, bananers.
Yeah. Kenan is sitting in this. He's like putting bananas on display, but he's opening them.
Yeah.
There's like a big box of like open bananas and their peels, and then he starts stapling them together.
"You can't staple bananas. What are you, screwy?"
Right.
So it's a full range from Chris this episode.
It really is. So that's my first. That's my number 10 for Chris.
Excellent.
My next Chris moment, my number 9, happens when Chris is sleeping in the episode, which is one of my favorites, "You Dirty Rat." So
yeah.
This episode. They're chasing the rat around Rigby's. They really can't find it. They're chasing it down, and then there's this scene where Chris is sleeping on the back, like in the back, which is a great moment, because it's like, oh, Chris's humanity is showing through here.
Well, you highlighted one of Chris's traits. For some reason, he has a bed in Rigby's that he sleeps in all the time. He's a very sleepy boy. I would almost call him narcoleptic with how often plots revolve around him like taking a nap.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then above the bed is like a picture of his mother, what it seems like.
Yeah.
And he's saying, as he's sleeping, he goes, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Rhinoceros. I would like a back rub." And then he kind of wakes up to see the rat on his chest, and his facial expression is out of this world.
Yeah, he does. It's the first. I think maybe the one time in the series that someone else does a Kenan face.
Right.
Like, he's just purely like stunned, mouth agape, as wide as it can go, staring at this rat.
Right. And I just love the randomness of some of the things that he says. Right. And that one, "Thank you, Mr. Rhinoceros. I would like a back rub." It gives me like Drake and Josh, like an homage to Drake and Josh, kind of.
Oh yeah.
That kind of random hilarity of Chris definitely carried over into Drake and Josh, and like, Helen and the coworker Crazy Steve, right? They have a lot of Chris qualities.
That's a good point. Yeah, that boss employee dynamic is definitely maintained there.
Yeah, in a great way too.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, my number 9 is from Here It Goes to Hollywood Part 2. Another crazy Chris face.
I'm glad you included this one.
Well, on the occasion of, like, literally it starts off, the first one is Kenan's playing video games, and Chris is like, "I can beat your highest score." And that's all he does for these next 2 episodes, is he...
The two-parter.
He neglects, like, important phone calls from Kenan's family trying to get organized, and he neglects his own employees, something that's very rare for Chris to do, because he has gone full Twitch streamer, full The Shining. just like crazy playing this video game, and you get an awesome shot of his face and the ceiling of Rigby's, and him just like making all kinds of sounds and noises as he's engrossed in this game.
It really captured what video games can do to you.
Yeah, it's a message right there. You don't want this
parody,
to happen.
Yeah, or great satire, or whatever you want to call it.
It's only number 9 on the list because we do not see him succeed or fail. I would have probably ranked it higher, but he's just in the canon of this episode, he's just locked in that forever. So it's very spooky. It's like a Twilight Zone.
Yeah, he's just stuck. I like how he grows a beard too.
Yeah, he's all like scraggly, which another rare thing you don't see.
A great moment, and it really shows his passion.
My number 8 is one that I'm sure is on it can't not be on your list. And it's from the episode Girl Watchers. Is this higher on your list?
Yes, it is.
It's a small scene. Let's talk about it later.
Okay.
All right, but that's where I placed it here at number 8.
Number 8, okay.
What's your number 8?
My number 8 is from an episode called Fenced In.
Yes.
I would imagine this made your list.
It did not, actually.
Oh, okay. So clearly Kenan gets his head stuck in a fence on his way to a double date to watch The Timid Bride. And and Kel is pretty much responsible. It's because he dropped his yo-yo. And so Kel runs back to Rigby's to get supplies, to try to unstick his head. And so Kel's just kind of, and this is a great moment because it's just Kel and Chris. And it spans a couple different scenes too, because they interject. I think there's a commercial break maybe, or they interject with Kenan just being stuck in the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But Kel's like, Kenan, stuck in the head. Yo-yo, Timid Bride, have to unstick. And then Chris is just trying. He doesn't understand what Kel needs. Kenan's yo-yo got stuck in a Timid Bride, and then later. You have to get a yo-yo for Kenan's Timid Bride? And then, good luck unsticking your bride's buttery yo-yo. I love Chris's, he really wants to help, but he has no idea what to do. Kel's like, yeah. Slippery, I need something slippery.
Motor oil is slippery. He's doing his best to help, and I like that he's interested in helping them out.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he's on their side for
again,
once.
Supportive role. There's just the local store owner. I just love Chris in that moment. He's so okay.
Yeah. He boosts the scene. It's not just Kel running into a shop and grabbing random things.
Right. Yeah, and that's just great writing in my opinion.
Okay. What's your 7?
My 7 was already mentioned by you. Picture Imperfect, except there's a line that you didn't mention, which I will mention.
Oh, please.
At one point he goes, move it! And then another point, Bill Bellamy's like, how long is this going to take? He goes, quit whining! Just, you don't talk to you're not supposed to talk to anybody like that.
No, especially not a celebrity.
But Chris is, I don't know if you noticed this, Adam, but Chris is actually behind the power counter, and he's kind of got this, he's got this little lean. And I just think that's a great Chris moment because he really has all the power. He is enabling Bill Bellamy to exist in Rigby's at that moment.
For as often as they use Rigby's, which we'll get into later, but he rarely has full control of the situation.
That's right.
It's something like the president comes in, or there's an art show and they're stealing all his stuff. He's usually the butt of the joke here, but this is the one time he maintains that strength there.
Right. Rigby's must be on a pretty poppin' corner in Chicago. I mean, a lot of stuff happens at that little tiny grocery store.
Yeah, the fact that both Bill Bellamy and Ron Harper. It's their go-to place that they swing by. The president.
The president. I mean, they had a lottery winner. Mm-hmm. I mean,
yes, that's actually a really good point.
That's a huge deal.
I've seen corner shops that put that on their advertising.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Lottery winner was here.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
My number 7 is for an episode we have not mentioned yet. I do think we got a lot of shared paint between these. Our order just might be a little different. but it's from the episode Mental Telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
This is an early episode, and it's not one that usually makes our list because I think it's kind of a stinker, but it's a great Chris episode.
I'm upset that I didn't include this on my list. It was kind of an oversight, but I love this moment so much.
There's two, sub moments, which is where Kel, it remembers things and overhears things like Chris sleeping, and he uses that information to convince Chris that he's actually has psychic powers. And the first thing is that he has nightmares about giant rabbits.
Which is actually pretty common, Adam.
Yes.
We've talked about this before.
Teeth as big as barn doors! He's a witness to this fact. So much so that he joins Kel on that talk show. And he's disguised. He's dressed up as Ezekiel, who's described as having full of problems.
Ezekiel looks like a rabbi. He's dressed just like a rabbi. Like he has
this Amish gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So the great bookends, really funny. But the best moment happens in the middle of that, where they make up that three is in your future, and it means bad things. And so he becomes paranoid of transactions that have threes in them. It's just a cutaway to him in the back room. He picks up the phone. He says, "Yes, is this 333? What do you know about my future?"
And then the triplets come in later.
Yeah, the triplets he gets scared by, and it's a fun collection of events.
What's really interesting, I know this is an early episode, but what's really interesting about it, season 1, episode 4, is that Chris is still kind of exploring his character, or Dan Frischman rather is exploring the Chris character, and so he's trying. I think he's kind of playing around with different things, but he hit something in this episode that I think continued through the whole show, which is Chris's kind of like anxiety almost, but his hilarious anxiety where he just kind of gets hyper fixated on something and just that kind of oblivion.
Yeah, now the fact that Kenan and Kel can kind of pull ones over on him. This is kind of the start of that.
Right.
My number 6 now. We already mentioned it. Parental guidance.
Yes.
No, him being concerned for Kenan is a great take. We should mention fenced in these are season premieres. Right. It's him back in the swing of it, ready to go, and he kills it. There's another one on my list coming up soon where I think he's just in top form.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the episodes that I think had the best Chris moments to them.
I completely agree. Yeah, top form Chris. I think he's a real professional, and I think his character was really necessary because Kenan and Kel are very young, and they are professionals too, absolutely. But it was nice to have Dan Frischman in these scenes because he was so just you could count on him to just do his role, know his lines, and just kill it. So.
Yeah, not to mention he moved with the cast. He did everything that they had. He went from Florida to California in pursuit of this gig.
It's a great gig, in my opinion. Just one of my favorite characters in sitcom history.
Go on, Aaron. What's your next?
All right, so my next Chris moment is a collection of moments because it's an entire episode.
Which episode?
Oh, brother. I put Oh, brother as just one Chris moment because it really is. Maybe it should be higher on the list. The things I put higher on the list are really just moments that made me cry laughing. But just his performance in this episode, this is top Chris form. And it's not just him, but he plays 2 roles, which is just remarkable to do on a stage like this, right? In front of a live audience.
They pulled it off in a pretty fun way that he was able to basically play a villain, an evil version of himself, his brother Rick. But he taps into those 3 big traits of Chris, which I would say that he gets irritated.
Yep.
He's a mama's boy, and he's a grocer. And Rick comes in and kind of steps on him in all those ways.
Right. And I think there's just a few of my favorite moments in the episode. When Chris buys a small rock pyramid for his mother because his mother loves the pyramids. Of course she does because we'll talk about that in a minute. And then Rick buys her a 2-week vacation, which just crushes his dreams. And then just really his brother's performance. So Rick's performance so Dan Frischman as Rick, great job. I mean, just knocked it out of the park. And Chris just highlighting. Kenan goes, Chris, what do you have that your brother doesn't? My pewter cow collection? No, a wife and kids. Kenan, I don't have a wife and kids. I loved Chris that whole episode.
My favorite moment from that episode is definitely when Chris wakes up in the middle of the night and Roger has to lull him back to sleep.
Oh, yeah, because he just says that.
Because, yeah, it's a scene with just those two adults in this kid's sitcom.
Yeah.
And they pull it off. They do a great job.
That's a great moment. Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. So that's my number 6. My number 5 is from I'm Gonna Get You, Kenan.
Okay.
And this is about the jackhammer, right? So
yes.
Of course, the jackhammer gets whacked in the face by Kenan coming out of the back door. But before that, he kind of threatens Chris in a way that like Chris just almost like pees his pants. He's so scared. And then we're like in the police office at the police department, and Chris is recapping his version of the story, and everything seemed normal. And as a grocer, you have to be ready. In my line of work, you have to be ready for anything. And then he like talks about what's happening. I maintained my calm. My nerves were like calm nerves. And then he's just kind of like talking about how he was basically the one who, initiated the jackhammer to run away in fear. And then he like puts his foot on the jackhammer and goes, after he passes out. I love that Chris moment.
I love the image that Chris has in his head of himself. He sees himself as a great hero. Like a patron for the grossing arts.
Grossing arts.
Yeah, like he would defend his land, his domain with like every fiber of his being.
Yep, absolutely.
He's like part noir, part like the superhero, all Chris.
Mostly noir. Yeah, I love that moment. So that's my number 5.
Excellent moments. Mine is also a highlight scene. We're in top 5 territory, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing out the big guns.
Go for it.
The Chicago witch trials.
Oh, yeah.
The most important role of this episode is convincing Kenan that their new classmates is a witch. And Chris is the one that does this by spookily and with much theatrics explain to him the rules of witches and why and how to identify them.
Right. They're like, Chris, what do you know about witches? Witchcraft. What would you like to know about witchcraft?
He turns off the lights, puts a flashlight on himself. There's many tales of a witch. They smell like fire. And they have curled toes, like a crow's feet.
They have green tongues.
Yeah, and he explains all these things with just... It's a really fun energy, and it has led to one of our greatest theories on this program. That Chris's mother, who's never been seen on camera, is herself a witch.
Yes.
Which is why Chris knows so much about this.
And he also knows the other thing that's a tell about witches. They have good and bad spells, and if they don't like you, beware. Which makes me think, why is Chris always taking so much care of his mother? And why does she have all of these strange ailments, like a hairy belly and and just gross feet? Well, maybe she's very old. Maybe she's been around for hundreds of years. And maybe he does not want to fall into her dark spell.
I could totally see, the son of a witch being really unlucky and cursed in some ways.
Right.
And, which we totally see that Chris is kind of generally down on his luck.
Chris, has an older woman ever liked you? Well, no. So then younger women must like you, right? Well...
Chris, what kind of women like you? Yeah, no, that sums him up pretty well, and it kind of... I love it because of how well it works, but it's also... Even if it... Alright, putting the theory aside for a second, it's just really funny that Chris knows all this witch stuff.
So funny.
Yeah.
So funny that he knows it, and he executes it so well, right? He just delivers it so well, and he terrifies Kenan and Kel, and makes them think that they need to go, find if she's a witch, which leads to the rest of the episode being pretty bad. But
yes.
But Chris is part of it. Again, supporting actor, amazing. He made the episode great.
My number 4 is a little-known episode called Mo Sweater Blues. I think this is my last of the usual suspects. Excellent episode, in no small part thanks to Chris.
Yep.
I remember writing my notes that Chris is on fire this episode. He shot for shot. He asked Kenan to throw him some aspirin, and he actually throws it at him, hits him in the head. You heaved! He drinks out of that 90s designer mug.
Yeah, like the classic mug. Adam, how does he open the bottle of aspirin?
He smashes it with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, he can't get the child lock open. Kenan's like, it's really easy. You just squeeze and turn left. Squeeze and left. Chris just puts it on the counter, takes the fire extinguisher out, and just destroys the bottle. That made an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, he gets in the change drawer, and like that's just the early part of the episode. He appears later when they're trying to get the stain out of the sweater, and he's still nursing his head injury. He's like, "There's a high-powered hose over there." They shoot the sweater, it falls off, gets run over, and he's like, "Oh, that didn't work, huh?" Like a very in rare form of him being kind of like careless.
Yeah, and it was because he wasn't feeling good. And when Chris doesn't feel good, it's like, the whole world stops spinning.
Yeah, that's another one of his traits, kind of. I think it goes into the mama's boy kind of soft man.
Allergies.
Yeah.
Excessive allergies, right? Back to me. My number 4 is from the April Fools. When Kenan tricks Chris into thinking that he won the lottery. And so he comes back dressed as like Count Dracula. And I come bearing gifts.
I'll be honest, this was an omission on my list. I think it kept it in the top 20. But it's an incredible, excellent Chris moment.
He walks in all rich. He goes, "Hello, my unrich friends. Charla, for you, I have a diamond tiara." And Kenan, I bought this watch which cost $10,000.
His outfit changes in season 4 are really excellent.
So fantastic. Yeah, his costumes are so good.
Yeah, this one's good. He's got like jackets on jackets, and he's got bling and a cane now.
Yeah, so it just his energy in this episode, again, it elevates it. I love Rich Chris.
Rich Chris is a top like 4 character, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my number 4. Number 3, Chicago Witch Trial. That Chris scene. So that was my top 3.
Yeah, excellent. No, I think those are perfectly belong in a top 5.
And so Adam, let's hear your 3 and 2.
Number 3, I went with a sentimental one. I mentioned before we started recording that I tried to do this one a little more Aaron style. I didn't like assign weight values to certain scenes. I just I made a top 20, then a top 10, then a top 5, and like slowly whittle it down. So I wanted to include a softer one on the top, just to show how kind of how sweet Chris can be. And this is when it starts off with him being very excited about an electronic scanner that he has. In Bye Bye Kenan Part 1, where his joy like turns to kind of shock and sadness when he learns that Kenan is moving away. And Kenan tells him like really like gently that you've been such a great boss to me, and I just want to say, well, yeah, I know, he says. It's like they have a whole like history of conversation just with very simple words. I think you just in the episode describe it as very masculine, like goodbye. Yeah, so they just keep saying like to each other, and they embrace, they hug it out. Chris cries, and he's a really great sounding board for Kenan in this moment, because Kenan's concerned that he hasn't told Kel yet. And Chris is the one, like Chris, who hates Kel, who like can't stand the man, like knows he'll devastate him, and like that's how, it kind of shows you the true nature of Chris, and how he cares about these two rascals, these two young Chicago natives.
Yeah, there's a reason he keeps them around. He doesn't just shoo them away every day,
No, he cares for them deep down, and he doesn't want their feelings to get hurt.
Yep. I'm glad you included that, Adam, because it's on my honorable mentions. I didn't include it in the list just because I wanted to focus on some different moments, but I'm very glad that you included it. Thank you for doing so. That was a great recap.
And my number 2 is from, it's a very short one. Kel is looking for a job in the episode He Got a Job. And he is kind of very nervous about asking Chris for a job at Rigby's. And Chris, lets him know, hey, it's okay. I understand. It's a tough thing to do, ask someone for a job. And I think you should just go for it. Just step up to the plate. It's like, all right, cool. Hey, Chris, can I have a job? And his reply is a top 2 moment for Chris, which is, no, what are you, crazy? Like, he's as he should be. No, this is Chris's response. This is 4 seasons of garbage that Cal like threw at him and had made him deal with, and all the free like product they stole, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna hire you. You're pulling my leg. So top moment for Chris for me.
I love it. Thanks for including that one. What? No, are you crazy? Just, yeah, that's a great Chris Kell moment. My number 2, I think it might be up on your list.
Please.
From the lottery.
My number 1.
Okay, so I will, let me say my number 1, which was already said. And so let me highlight my number 1, and then we'll do the number 2 one together.
Yeah, sounds good.
My number 1 Chris moment is that moment from Girl Watchers. Because
I almost forgot about that one. That's how how low it is. So set the scene for us.
I love Kenan and Kel, but the number of times of Kenan and Kel that I have actually bursted out in laughter and not been able to stop laughing. This was one of those moments because they're trying to, they have this girl and they lose her, and they bring her to the pool hall, and what are they looking for? And then Chris is just there dressed like a biker. He's just dressed like a biker, and he goes, mother likes to win some extra money here on the weekends. And they go, Chris, where is mother? And then he just walks away. That's my favorite Chris moment. It's so random.
It speaks to the mystery of Chris. I think one of the best aspects of his character is that you still don't know everything about him.
Not at all.
That, this doesn't all make sense, and he always is. It throws a nice little twist of doubt on it, because he's always saying these crazy things he's doing with Mother, and I think a read of this might be that Mother is not his mother. like it could be like a pet name for someone else in his life. There could be some different dynamic that is going on. Some it just could be a veil, an excuse.
Or maybe he's attracted to older women.
Yeah, he could be living a whole second life in front of us, and this is the only glimpse in the entire series that you see of that.
Right. Yeah, he's just making something up that Mother is clearly not involved in.
Yeah.
So I love that moment because it's just so funny. You're not expecting to see Chris there at all, and he's just dressed up with a purple bandana and a biker jacket.
It's very, very good.
Because you don't have to be dressed like a biker to play pool, but he's at this biker bar.
His outfit makes no sense in any context, but that's why it makes it so good.
Oh, it's so good. All right, Adam, let's talk about some good old-fashioned salesmanship here with the lottery.
The episode starts off with a mispronunciation of what's the big idea when Cal rollerblades into him and the stack of paper towels. They haven't had a lot of customers, and he has a plan. Kenan wants to start selling lottery tickets.
Actually, Adam, before that even happens, hold on.
Oh, please.
Don't forget that Kenan is trying to knock over some cans with an apple, and he ends up throwing it and hitting Chris in the mouth.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes.
Okay,
and already starting off with a bang.
And then Cal rolls in with rollerblades and knocks him over. So
it's a Chris Rich episode. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I think every season had a really Chris Rich episode, but this is season 2.
He's a main character. He's in as many scenes as Kenan and Cal are, like maybe minus 1 or 2.
Oh yeah,
but he's with them for the whole time. He doesn't think they need lottery tickets. They just need good old fashioned salesmanship.
And then a young boy walks in. Because they haven't had a customer in a while, Rigby's.
Yeah, right.
Krusty Krab, when the clothes sign is up.
Yeah, or when before they do pretty patties.
Right.
To get some incentive going.
Right.
Yeah, so he says, "Hello, little boy, and welcome to Rigby's," like he's Willy Wonka. The boy wants a soda. He's like, "How about a whole case of soda?"
I have a whole entire refrigerator filled with soda. Here's a case of root beer. That'll be $24.
I just want the one can. What's wrong with you?
And he just kind of starts yelling at the kid, and the kid just you freak.
Yeah, and he leaves. Yeah. So he does take Kenan up on the idea. Following this, he gets manhandled by Mrs. Quagmire.
I'm glad she made an appearance in this episode.
Oh,
she made
this is her biggest episode.
I know, yeah. I know, but with this episode of the podcast, Mrs. Quagmire, we haven't talked about her in a while.
Do you think we're gonna do a top 5 Mrs. Quagmire?
I think every moment that she's in is like number 1. So I don't know if we have to.
Yeah, she like puts him in a chokehold, and he's like, Kenan, please sell Mrs. Quagmire all the lottery tickets she would like.
I'm feeling sassy today, so I'll take 2.
And then Chris, he can't go home to see the lottery, so Kenan invites him to his house. So he's right there along with all the Rockmores, like, watching the show on TV. The numbers as they're called out, cheering along with them. It's really fun. He offers to take him to the lottery center tomorrow. After the lottery goes wrong, they destroy Rigby's. Look, at his insistence.
Right. And then there's that great moment when they're like waiting in line at the lottery place, and
my favorite moment of Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's clearly not scripted. It's clearly they're having fun on set, and Kenan, Kel, and Chris stroll into lottery corner. They're all like snapping and like stepping in the same time, and Chris is like busting up laughing. I don't think I see him like get Dan Friedman break character ever, except for this one instance, because he's just having a real good time with Kenan and Kel.
It's great. It's so great.
Yeah, I get a half a. He's like dancing with them when they sing "Whip That Bad Boy Out." It's great. It's perfect. It's Chris like doing all his best stuff. He's nerdy. He's a weakling. He's kind of a mama's boy, but he's got a true heart, and he loves these two knuckleheads. And he's with them through thick and thin. When things are good and when things are bad, and they're destroying Rigby's, he's there.
Yep, and he has Kenan's back. It's like nobody would really employ somebody like Kenan, especially when his best friend is always hanging around. But Chris does, and then they win the lottery, and Carl wins the lottery, and then it's just a great Chris moment. So thank you, Adam, for sharing that. I really do just love his good old fashion salesmanship, and then he shoves this case of soda at him.
Yeah, it's really good. You want to talk about some honorable mentions?
Sure. So one of my honorable mentions was in breaking the glass bottle of aspirin with the fire extinguisher.
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead.
Yeah, so let's see. We have there's a moment in Dial O for Oops where Chris says, "You should do what your father tells you," to Kenan regarding this girl that he should leave alone. And Cal says, "I agree with Chris." And Chris says, "Well, in that case, it must be wrong."
That's good. There's an honorable mention by Kenan part 1, the whole you know. And then another one I have is after Chris, who's very sick and upset at Kel during the Cold War, takes their newfound cough medicine or newfound cold remedy,
mm-hmm.
and then passes out. And I'll dig the llama looper. I'm a sleepy boy. I take nap now.
Yeah, excellent, fun stuff.
And then when Kel sneezes earlier in the episode, who sneezed? Who sneezed? Get away from here! Be gone with you!
Yeah, that's a great episode. Another good one would be Baggins and Kel.
Yep.
He's the star of that one right next to Kenan and Kel, with Angus kind of threatening him. He also did really good in Freezer Burned. Another sleepy Chris, by joining them for dinner. And, he was actually the one that saved the day in that one, of all things. Another quote for you?
Sure.
Rigby's, where the customer is always right. He gets accused of giving the person bad change. And he's just like, well, you're wrong. Beat it, con artist. IQ can do better.
I have a radio in my car. In the line of Kenan.
Yep. In Ditch Day Afternoon, it's inventory day at Rigby's. So he literally says, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4.
And then the delivery guy, who's hilarious, just interrupts him.
Dave. And they have a real good back and forth with each other. When he gets the Skunkator number 1 for Kenan and Skunkator versus Mothman, really sweet moment.
When Kenan is trying to hustle Chris and says he's going to quit in corporate Kenan.
Yes.
And then he does, he says it. And then Chris says, Kenan, wait, thinking that Chris is going to give him a raise instead. And he goes, I'm going to miss you. So just leave. I don't like long goodbyes.
Shout out to Chris as a robot in Futurama.
Yep.
Really, really awesome that he went through all that costume stuff.
Agreed.
And also shout out to Chris in Merry Christmas Kenan, where he fights a robot Santa and celebrates Christmas with the Rockmores. So, a sweet, sweet moment.
So much good Chris. I think if you watch Kenan and Kel anytime soon, you will be pleasantly surprised when you pay attention to Chris's character. Chris Potter, also known as Rick
Cirque Retop.
Cirque Retop.
Aaron, now that we're done our list, would you like to join me for a Fanta Cam?
I would.
This is from Tom McGuire, who did the art that you can find on our TeePublic store.
Which you should check out, tpublic.com/KeenanKel podcast.
Rockmore and Kimball on tpublic.com. You can find the link in the description.
Hey guys, hope all is well on your side of the pond. I had a brainwave for an episode. The top 10 times Chris should have fired Kenan. I'm sure there must be at least 10 occasions, LOL.
Well, thanks for reaching out to us, Tom. I'm glad you're still there and listening. So we decided to add a little addendum on this episode, go through some top 10 times Kenan should have been fired.
Yeah, it was top 10 fireable offenses. We're just gonna go rapid fire because we're sure you're gonna remember some of these moments. So I will start, Adam, because you started the last time. Number 10 is one we already mentioned this episode, which is stapling bananas. The fact that Kenan opened all of the bananas and put them out on display, that borderline fireable offense. But Chris was really concerned about him. So
there's a lot of destroying produce. I think that's going to top this list as we keep going.
All right, you go ahead. Number 10.
From Merry Christmas, Kenan. Because Kenan abandoned his post, which allowed this robot to kind of really beat up Chris. Put him in a sling, gave him a black eye, because Kenan wasn't there to unplug it. So I would say leaving your post is definitely a fireable offense.
I would agree with that.
Number 9, from the raffle, when they're doing the big TV raffle. He walks in and he gloats about the stack of money that they made, $516. And Chris was nice enough to cut Kenan 10% of that, like a dime for every ticket that he sold. But instead of the $51.60, Kenan just takes all the money and says, "Oh, I'll pay you back," and he runs away. So
yep.
Chris's money incentive this whole episode is just stolen by Kenan at the end.
Yep. Just snags it.
Yeah, fireable offense, number 9 for me.
Yep. Let's see. My number 9 is To Catch a Thief. Kenan says he's going to leave the register, and then Rigby's gets robbed again.
Yes, this is the second time they get robbed. And I will say that this one didn't make my list because Chris knew they were robbed, but didn't know it was Kenan. So, I mean, technically speaking, from the audience perspective, oh yeah, no, he totally should have. He literally left the cash register open.
Just open.
Yeah.
OPEN, open.
And even if things went according to plan, he put Kel in charge of watching this. Bad move.
Yeah, you can't put somebody else in charge. So that's my number 9. My number 8 is also the raffle. Because you're just taking your boss's money. Come on.
My number 8 is when in Futurama.
Kenan's getting fired in the future.
Yeah, no. Kenan steals Chris's reverse valve in the future. This is only number 8 on my list because it's a temporary thing. He could probably take it off the trashinator, put it back on him. But he does physically disable his robot boss. There's got to be future rules about how you can't do this to robots. It's like a hate crime, basically.
Oh yeah, like a hate crime to robots. Yeah, they have rights.
Yeah, they got rights. You can't
maybe.
And he's making millions of dollars every day in this corner store. You can't just turn him off. There's so much revenue that was lost from that. So, yep, that's
millions of dollars at the corner store. Year 7, go ahead.
From Turkey Day. He assaults him with gravy. He poured gravy on my trousers. And then he steals his Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah. Again, not directly related to Rigby's, but...
No, but I would say that if you mess up with your boss in a major way outside of work, in stealing the bird that he ordered 3 days in advance, ruining his dinner with his mother, and causing him pain, that's fireable.
I would agree with that. Okay, fair point. Number 7 for me is in the lottery when Kenan throws an apple at Chris's face and it lands in his mouth. Because that could have very easily led to thousands of dollars worth of dental repair.
Oh yeah, teeth are no joke.
I mean, yeah. So that could have been very bad. I think if you injure your boss by throwing something carelessly when you're not working, yeah, that's fireable. That's my number 7. My number 6 is I don't know how this is only number 6, but this is my number 6. When Kenan is charged with taking care of Chris's house, and then he destroys it.
Yeah, this is an honorable mention for me. It didn't actually make my list. The main reason for that is because insurance covered it. When two wackos like kind of invade your house and break your stuff, which, by the way, all right, theory time. I think this might have been an insurance fraud. Because you saw like how like brittle Chris's house is. Like you put your foot on the table and it like breaks. You touch the faucet, it breaks. I think that he knowingly knew that Kenan would mess this up, and he's.
You know what I think, Adam? You know what I think? I think Chris's mother knew that Kenan was going to be in charge of the house, and so she diabolically.
She put a hex on everything in the house.
Yes, exactly.
because she knows about how much stress Kenan and Kel cause Chris.
Exactly.
So this was her way of getting back at them.
Exactly.
Oh wow, I have to dem that episode.
Now they're indebted to him forever. That's my number 6.
My 6 is from Car Trouble, which is when they make Chris liable for a car crash. Basically, Kenan has kind of really buttered him up, and also pretended to be his father. There's some real fraud going there to get Chris to agree to sponsor him for the driver's test, and Kenan stayed up all late, was all sleepy. And wrecked Mark's dad's car into his dad's car.
Yep.
And Chris is like, he's got his name's on that paper. I think this goes through insurance, but there's got to be some kind of terrible implication for him.
That's bad. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, he lost respect, which is kind of almost as bad as losing money.
Fair inclusion there, Adam. Nice job.
Thanks. My 5, ditch day afternoon. Inventory day is a really important day at a grocery store. I've done inventory day when I worked at Dollar Tree. It's hard stuff and it's long hours, and he was just gonna bail on Chris. He was gonna play hooky. He pretended to be sick, and he got caught red-handed. So when he got caught red-handed, he should have been fired. Absolutely.
Yikes. Yeah, I've never had to do inventory day, so I don't.
Not fun.
Don't play hooky from work. That's not good. My number 5 is from Da Bomb. When Kenan threw an underage party at Rigby's.
Aaron, Da Bomb is my number 4.
Okay.
So I'm right there with you.
I mean, it's pretty bad. The whole situation. He's 14 and he's throwing a party at Rigby's.
Oh, someone could have totally snuck in something that they shouldn't into that. There's all the produce and stuff might be in danger. There's that guy that was walking around with a salami, remember?
Yeah.
Just some teenager's hands all up on lunch meat that's going out to
terrible.
patrons.
Definitely fireable offense.
$300 fine as well.
From the fire marshal. Yeah, the fire department was called. And now
the fire marshal showed up.
Yeah.
It's your joke earlier. That happens in Drake and Josh. Every time the fire marshal's called, someone has to get fired. I agree with Helen.
That's a great fair point. So yeah, that we definitely included that one. My number 4 is from the pilot when they destroy 700 boxes of Google Puffs. That is a lot. Talk about inventory. 700 boxes. Yep. First off, for a corner store to have that many boxes of groceries or cereal, crazy. For them to name Google, crazy. For them to destroy that much product is just absurd. So it'd be $2,000 at least.
It was a lot. I wrote down that as an honorable mention, namely because in that same episode, minutes later, Chris goes on to destroy thousands of dollars worth of Skunkatoid comics that belong to them. So I mean, fair is fair. That's but yeah, no, they start off with a whole lot of mess.
Big mess.
I'm surprised he wasn't fired in the first episode.
Yeah, actually, big mess. Yep. So that's my 4 and 5.
3 for me is Stars Peeved.
That's also my 3.
Excellent. These movie makers are here, and Chris kind of goes against his own moral judgment on this. Or that's a like a very polite read of the situation.
No, that's true.
He gets greedy, and when they offer him $25,000.
I mean, come on, that's a great deal.
It's $25,000. That's more than like Kenan's worth is at that store. Like for the entire run of Kenan and Kel. like that's he could do whatever he wants if he got paid that kind of like cash. And because of Kenan and Kel's antics, they leave. They rip up his check, which I think is illegal, but still, like Kenan and Kel, just like totally ruin that payday for him. What's your number 2, Aaron?
My number 2 is Skunkator versus Mothman. When Kenan, basically, they hire Sharla, and then Kenan just takes full advantage of this. And so on her first day, when he's supposed to be helping her out, he leaves to go to Skunkator versus Mothman. And just like everything falls apart on Sharla. It's amazing that she stayed with Rigby's all those years after that. But that's definitely a fireable offense. He's supposed to be training her. And
yeah,
he leaves.
All he did was like give them a stern word each. Kenan left, and like I think Sharla covers for him, but even so, like the new employee shouldn't be like telling the old employee to leave for something. And whatever the reason is, like, you know, Chris is very like the whole store was in jeopardy. It was in chaos.
Oh my gosh! Well, the ice machine and the hot dog maker, which we're all new, which was kind of funny.
Yeah,
no, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. So, and this is also the first Sharla episode. So, and Chris had a moment earlier in this episode talking about good Chris moments. Honorable mention when they're going through the hiring process. I just thought that was really fun to like see Chris kind of sitting behind the desk and with the computer, like the old computer,
being responsible.
Yeah. Anyways, that was my number 2 is, when Kenan leaves his post.
My number 2 is from You Dirty Rat. At the very end of this episode, Kenan's plan to catch Wendell involves setting off a stink bomb in Rigby's. A stink bomb. Something that, like, ruins all the air and food and, like, materials around them. So much so that they wear, like, gas masks and full suits when they set this thing off. Around all that produce that's like going out to people, like this is
talk about liability.
This is probably the biggest lawsuit that could happen. This is literally the shark poison from Good Burger. And he wasn't gonna tell Chris. He didn't like intend to tell Chris at any point. Chris finds out and faints. Like it's this stuff is toxic enough to make a person faint upon smelling it.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not your store. Yeah, it's bad.
Potentially poisoning everyone that goes to Rigby's. Very, very bad. Fireball, absolutely, but not my number 1 fireball. I feel like we might have the same one. My number 1 is from the April Fools.
That is correct.
Yes.
Chris ends up in prison because he spends so much money that he doesn't have because Kenan tricks him into thinking he won the lottery. I mean, that is just awful.
He has basically, in this final episode, put Chris into
financial
incredible debts, financial ruin, bankruptcy for the rest of his days.
A diamond tiara.
We don't see Kenan working in the final episode, Tales from the Clip. They both go to Rigby's. I don't think he's wearing the apron. I really don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I have to say that they're friends still, but he's fired.
Yeah, no, he lost it. He lost everything.
Yeah, because he did lose everything. He like had the tiara and the watch, one of which cost like $10,000, and the other one's a tiara stolen from him in prison. So even if he returns everything else like A-OK, that happens. Like that's
you're Mr. Potter. We've been looking for you all day. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, his credit's ruined. Like he's in jail.
Oh my, everything's ruined. Yeah, no,
he's not like a kid in jail. He's an adult in jail now.
Definitely a fireable offense. It did happen late in the series, but
yeah, and he's still technically working at Rigby's, but they don't speak about the horrible debt that he's crawling into, all because of Kenan.
That's right. A pretty comprehensive list. Thank you very much to our friend Tom for
suggestion.
Yeah, for suggesting it.
If you have a top 10 suggestion, please send it our way. KenanKelPodcast@gmail.com or at KenanKelPodcast on Twitter.
Yeah, and it would be great for everybody to check out our T-shirt shop, Rockmore and Kimball at TeePublic. Thanks, Tom, for all the help with that. And we hope you enjoyed this Cirque Retop episode. I mean, Chris Potter.
Our next episode isn't set in stone yet. there's some potential wonderful things on the horizon.
That's right.
But we'll keep those a secret for right now.
Thanks for hanging with us, Fantas. We hope you go out into the world and maybe don't get fired. And
support your local grocery stores.
Go to your corner stores. Tell them that you love them. Make sure you don't just give all your money to Instacart and DoorDash. And go make the world a better place through your grocery-loving selves.
Until next time, everyone.
Until next time, here it goes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KenanKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/KenanKelPodcast. Our social media accounts are all at KenanKelPodcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody. Hey guys. No, that's terrible. I hope all is well with you on your side of the pond. I had a brainwave for an episode. I don't know if he's British.
He is British. He said other side of the pond, Aaron.